Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is the wood-fired bread bowl. Well, today we're going to be baking some bread. It's a really simple, straightforward bread recipe. If you can make pizza dough, you can make this bread. Now the end goal is to create these little bread bowls that we can serve soup in, and we're going to bake them in the wood-fired oven for a really nice crust. So let's jump right in by scaling out the dough. So we need some warm water to start off with, and what I do is I just leave the faucet running and put an instant read thermometer in there until I get right about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'll scale it into the bowl. So we need 400 grams to start this out. Then we're gonna add to that 12 grams of white sugar. I'm just gonna stir that to let it dissolve. We like to scale our bakery doughs on the scale using mass and weight rather than volume, but I will throw in some volume measurements in the recipe if you guys don't have a scale. Okay, so now that that's kind of dissolved, we're gonna throw in our yeast. I want 9 grams of the dry yeast. Just gonna sprinkle it on the surface. And I'm gonna let that just sit, and it's gonna start to foam up as this yeast activates and starts to feed on that sugar. So we're gonna be baking in this Clementi Wood Fired Oven, and we need to get the fire going. So we're actually gonna start the fire on the deck where we wanna be baking our bread later. Then once it kind of crumbles down into coals, we can scoot it off to the side where we can continue to feed it a stick at a time, contained off to the side, and now our deck will be plenty hot for our bread. So I'm gonna start kind of just right of center. Get some kindling, some fire starters in here. And then we'll just sort of crisscross log cabin style here. All right, let's let it go. So you can see that yeast is foaming up. It's obviously nice and active. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and add our flour. 600 grams, and we're using the same flour that we use for pizza. It's a double lot flour with a nice high protein. And then we're gonna add to the top of that some of our kosher sea salt, 10 grams. And last, some extra virgin olive oil, 25 grams. So this is just gonna tenderize the bread just a little bit. Of course, that olive oil flavor. And that's it, let's get it on the mixer. All right, so we're gonna throw this on the KitchenAid with the dough hook. Set it at 2. And as soon as this kind of forms into a ball, we're gonna set a 5-minute timer, and we're gonna let it mix for the entirety of those 5 minutes. All right, time is up. So now we're gonna get this moved over to our Cambro container here. I like to use these. You can use a bowl at home just as easily. Just make sure you get it greased a little bit so nothing sticks. But I like to use these containers with the marks because it kind of tells us once it's doubled in size. So I'm just gonna pull that dough ball out. We've done some of that gluten development now. You can see that it's right around the 1 quart mark, so we're gonna let this double until it pops up to about 2. So you can see our fire is kind of broken down now. At this point, we're ready to move it off to the side. So I'm just gonna make room enough to get our fire grate in there. Slide that in, and all the way off to the left. This is kind of gonna be our coal bed here. We can add more wood to. And we'll move all this ash and debris with our brush just over by the firebox. Have a clean surface to bake on. And we'll go ahead and throw another stick or two on just to kind of help establish the heat in the oven now. Throw the door on and let it come up to about 400 degrees. So I say 400 degrees, that's reading on the far right side away from the fire. We want to peg this right around 400 for what we're doing today, because we can't be baking super hot like we would with pizzas, or we're just gonna scorch the outside of our bread before the inside gets baked all the way through. It's been about an hour now and our dough has doubled in size, so we're gonna turn it out of the container and divide it into 3 balls. All right, so after doing this a number of times, I can tell you we're gonna be around 1,050 grams for the total, which means we've got about 350 gram balls that we're gonna turn this into. Yeah, we're just shy of that. So, I mean, you can eyeball this. I just use the scale because I have it and I like being accurate. It's just a little bit over, about 350 gram dough balls. Perfect. So at this point, I'm not gonna use any flour. I wanna keep things tacky. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this dough, we're just gonna kind of turn it underneath itself, just like that, and form it into a ball as we do this. And then as soon as you've kind of got it into that ball shape, we're gonna start pulling as we roll this around in a circle, pushing, and it's gonna create a nice tight surface on top. And then we're just gonna sit these right here on the board to go ahead and puff up once again. So if we had any flour on the surface right now, it'd be really hard to do this portion, which is to get that tight surface on top of the dough ball. So again, we're just kind of pulling down as we go back and pushing as we go forward. So we're just gonna cover these up now with plastic wrap loosely and let them rise. All right, we've let these dough balls proof up until they just almost can't hold structurally all of that rising that's going on. So at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch them down and form them up one more time, and this is gonna give us a really nice dense bread bowl. We can see just how big these things have gotten. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of gently deflate, and then the exact same thing that we did before, fold that under. We're gonna work the top tight once again. We want this to be nice and tight at this point. You don't wanna go so far that you tear the top. So you're really just trying to find that line. And then I'm gonna kind of pinch together the bottom so it holds that structure. And then I'm actually gonna hit some flour on the surface now because I don't want this to stick when we go to take it off when it's ready to go onto the oven. So I'm just gonna repeat that with these other two. Also gonna hit the tops now with a little bit of flour, just because I don't want that plastic to stick at all. And then this will be the last rise before we bake. Well, our dough balls have gone through that second rise and they're ready to go into the oven. Let's take a look. So you can see how these have really plumped up again. If we press on them, they're still springing back almost all the way. And that's what we're looking for. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna hit these with a little bit of egg wash, but we're just using the egg white, and this is gonna give us a really nice shine on the surface. And before we transfer these to the oven, we're just gonna give them a little score on top. So just take a nice sharp paring knife and quickly slash the top. You can kind of work in an X. All right, let's transfer them. All right, so we're gonna transfer these on a peel. We're just gonna hit it with a little bit of semolina flour to help it slide. Our oven's sitting right around 400 degrees, which is perfect. So we're gonna go to this right side, kind of where we built that fire initially, and bring the next two over as well. Now you can see we've got this cast iron skillet in here that's getting warm. What we're gonna do is we're gonna throw a little bit of water in here, which is gonna add steam to the air and help form a really nice crust. Just gonna go ahead and throw one more stick on so that we keep a little bit of color going. Close it up. All right, our bread's been in for about 8 minutes now. Oh, great golden color going on there. So we're gonna give these a spin so they brown evenly. Put them back in there. We're doing, looks like our water's just about dried up, so we'll get some more water in there. Go ahead and throw another little split on. All right, it's been about 15 minutes now. Bread's looking really nice. Yeah, pretty evenly browned. Listen to that. Great crust on them. You can see it's just starting to blister on the surface a little bit. And this is perfect. This is what we're going for. These just need to rest. They need to cool down a bit before we can slice into them. But this is just such an easy way to do a really quick bread. I mean, it's nothing super artisan, but it's going to work great for the bread bowl. All right, these bread bowls are cooled all the way down now, so let's cut into it. Wait, there's a... Thanks, buddy. These bread bowls have cooled down all the way now, so let's crack into it and see how we did. So using these as a bread bowl, we're just gonna take the top off. Oh yeah, nice dense crumb to it, which is great when you're trying to hold something soggy like, say, maybe a New England clam chowder. You've got a nice little bowl for your soup. You can toast this off, have it as a little crouton on the side. This one I'm just gonna go ahead and cut some slices out of it. You can hear that crust on the outside. And then it's got so much spring, really soft in the center. That's really nice. Oh yeah. Great crunch on the outside. Incredibly tender in the middle. And it's just very dense, like we talked about, which is great for a bread bowl. Again, this is not your artisan bread baking. This is kind of where to start from. Any of us can do this at home. And you can really be pleased with the results. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check back in with us next week as we make a New England clam chowder that we're serving up in our bread bowls. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.